We're on the road, heading toward the Burgundy region of France. Our hotel is in the small town of Beaune. Taking the highway saves us about an hour and a half in travel time, but costs us over $50 in tolls. But we're checked into our hotel by 2 o'clock. Taking the short walk into Old Town, we try and find something to eat. But being after 2 o'clock, there was slim pickings, so we ended up with some pastries. Beaune is a small town, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot to do, and the prices here seem even higher than they were in Paris. So after a quick visit to Collégiale Notre Dame, we head on over to the Hospice de Beaune. The outside is quite plain, but once you pass through into the courtyard, you're greeted with this wonderful colored ceramic tile roof. The building was constructed in 1443, after the 100 Years' War, and was built to house and treat the large destitute population of Beaune. Nicholas Rolling, then Chancellor of Burgundy, and his wife founded Hospice of Beaune as a hospital for the poor, along with a Catholic religious order. It is now primarily just a museum, but each year it does host a large wine auction in which all the proceeds go to different charities. This large hall is the Room of the Poor. The room is decorated with caricatures of prominent Beaune residents. The open beams of the room were designed as an inverted great hull of a ship. The room is lined with curtained beds, and the center was set up with benches and tables for meals. A chapel was located at the end of the room, so those who were bedridden could still attend Mass. A little further on, past the communal rooms, were the kitchens. This is a display of some of the medical equipment used over the years. This is part of the pharmacy, where they made handmade pills and suppositories. The stills were used to make elixirs and plant extracts, which included metals like lead and mercury. This altarpiece was originally displayed in the chapel in the Hall of the Poor, and is often called the Last Judgment. It depicts Archangel Michael, weighing souls, determining whether they'll be going to hell or heaven. Finishing up with the museum, we decided to get something quick for dinner. We ended up at a small pizza place. Since they were having a 2-for-1 special, we each got one. Mine wasn't too bad, but Marianne ordered chicken curry with potatoes and a cream sauce, which turned out to be basically mayonnaise. As she said, mayonnaise does not belong on a pizza. The next day we head on up to Dijon for the Saturday market. After overcoming some challenges driving in the city, we managed to get to Les Halles Market at about 10:30. Of course, being in Dijon, we had to buy some local mustard. We didn't just limit ourselves to mustard. We bought some of this wonderful cheese, as well as some Tironi and some duck sausage. After leaving the market, we started on a walking tour of the city, called the Owl Trail. Sites along the way are designated by bronze plaques. Our first stop is the Notre Dame of Dijon. What's unique about it is it has 51 gargoyles. These aren't the original gargoyles, because in 1240, soon after the church was built, a moneylender was killed on his wedding day when a gargoyle representing a moneylender fell on his head. Fearing it was the work of the devil, they were all removed. But during a restoration in 1880, they were finally replaced. The animated figures called jacamarts on top of Notre Dame represent a family, and actually came from Belgium, when the Burgundy army took it as war booty. Another thing this area of France is known for is its truffles. Here you can get anything truffle. Well, that brings us to lunchtime again, and not wanting to spend much time looking for a place, we decide on a $10 burger. Right next to the cafe that we had lunch is the Musée Rude, and is dedicated to the artwork of the French sculptor Francois Rude. The museum is housed in the shell of an old church that dates back to the 11th century. Continuing on the Owl Trail, we come to St. Michel Church. The three large arched entrances are decorated with these beautiful, intricate carvings. The interior also had some wonderful stained glass. Our next stop is one of the oldest museums in France, Dijon's Museum of Fine Art. As we exit the museum through the Palace of the Dukes of Burgundy, we enter Liberation Square. As we leave the plaza, we stroll down the Rue de Liberté, and we end up walking by this interesting sculpture, a tree in the shape of a head. The sculpture is by Gloria Friedman, and is entitled Sempre Virens, Latin for always living. Like the blindfolded women at the fountains, we were seeing students performing pranks on each other, like these ones that got pies in their face. Our walk takes us by Hotel Aubrieux, with its interesting architecture and carvings. At the end of the Rue de Liberté, we come to Darcy Gardens, with its shell-themed fountain in a grotto tucked under a bridge. Back in Beaune, we had our goodies from the market for dinner, and then went out to stroll the streets of Old Town at night. As we walked by various buildings, they were having a display called Luminaire à Beaune, with architectural projections.
It's going to change before you take a picture.
That's because I'm taking a movie.
Oh. question is, are they bringing something clean? Putting down something. I enjoyed that part. Where was that?
That was interesting. Okay. Maybe.
A night in Beaune, and it's not raining.
Since the bakeries were closed today, we ended up at the grocery store for breakfast, before heading out for a tour of Beaune's only remaining mustard factory.
So just here in front of you, this is the manufactory. And today this is the last one in the city. So the manufactory was founded in 1840. So at this time, the 19th century and beginning of the 20s, there were 30 mustard manufactories only in the city in Beaune. And in Burgundy it was around 300. So at this time there was a lot of mustard manufactories. So I just say one in a few minutes. But today these companies are only 4. So 3 are in Dijon, the biggest one are in Dijon, and 1 here in Beaune. And in Beaune we see Moutard Fallot. So Fallot is the name of the family since 1928, so it's a family run. And this is a grandson who managed this manufacturing, and this is the last one in Burgundy who makes the mustard using the stone like the part of this one. So if we keep the crushers today, it's for more flavor and more spice, because with the millstone we crush slowly the mixture seeds and vinegar, for example, so we keep all the flavors and all the spice. So nothing changed for us, we still use this machine. And I said this is the manufactory, so this is the only one for Fallot. And so when you have this mustard, you are sure it's from here, no other possibilities. And I said it's a small company, 20 persons work today for this company. So I said 10 in the manufactory and 10 at the office. Okay, so we start the tour.
Of the 40 species of wild mustard, only 3 are used in the making of Dijon mustard, also known as brown or Indian mustard. 60% of the seeds used here are from local farms. The rest come from Canada. After soaking in water and vinegar, or white wine, the seeds move to the grinders. The heat produced by grinding actually changes the molecules in the mixture, imparting a very different taste. Once grinding is complete, the husks are removed for smooth mustards, but are left in place for coarse mustards before they're moved to the bright yellow aging vats. After about 3 weeks and multiple tastings, it's then determined whether it's time to add the seasonings. After the tour, we each got 4 small sample jars of mustard, before spending some time at the tasting bar. This afternoon we're heading back to Dijon, but this time we're taking the back roads. As we're driving through the small village of Newt St. George, we decide to stop at this cute little winery. The Dufleur estate and winery has been passed down through over 13 generations, and has been making wine for over 400 years. We really didn't care for any of the wines we were tasting. Then Marianne saw a bottle of crème de cassis, a black currant liqueur. It was so good we spent the 18 euros and bought a bottle. Arriving back in Dijon, we took one of the loops of the Owl Trail that took us to the Botanical Gardens de Aquabus and the Natural History Museum. On our way back into town, in Darcy Square, we see this cute little statue of children watching frogs. We soon see a spire of a cathedral we hadn't seen before. It's the Cathedral Beignet de Dijon, or commonly known as just the Cathedral de Dijon. While exploring the church's crypt, we were told about a theatrical performance that they were preparing for, so we waited around to take a look.
L'étendard qui dresse sur moi, c'est l'amour. Levons-nous dessus, faisons le tour de la vie. Dans les rues, sur les places, je chercherai celui que mon cœur aime. Je les chercherai dans les coins trouvés.
À moi, viens avec moi du Dijon, abaisse tes regards les signes de la mana, les signes du Sanir et de l'Hermone, repère de Lyon, montagne.
Les gars m'ont rencontré, ceux qui font la ronde dans la ville. Avez-vous vu celui que mon cœur aime? À peine les avais-je dépassés, j'ai trouvé celui que mon cœur aime.
Meanwhile, upstairs, they were performing an organ concert. They had a large screen projection of the organist playing behind the scenes. We're up early the next morning for a full-day bicycle tour of the Burgundy wine region. Our guide Florian first drives us up to the cliffs, overlooking the little winemaking village of Saint-Romain.
Alors, you take care because if you fail, you die. It's just simple. Voilà. Alors, we are here, it's quite nice. Well, it's not super clear. It's not super clear, but it's enough clear to understand a few things. Alors bon, we have Beaune in the north, Beaune is over there. We have the little village of Saint-Romain on the bottom. Saint-Romain, it's a winemaker village. Long time ago here we used to have the sea. It was a sea. It was great because we used to do some surfing, the woman was on bikini, but unfortunately the sea goes away. But the sea left this limestone. This is the limestone we can see, we have different strata. And this is what we're gonna use to make the wine. We have the Pellegrine Falcon. You will look maybe on the cliff and you will see a few birds, maybe flies. This is the Pellegrine Falcon. They are protected, so it's great to see them. Yes, we have the village of Meursault. We will pass through Meursault this afternoon by bike. So we will be downstairs, down, and then we go this way.
Our bike trip was mainly downhill, but there were a few sections that were steep enough for us to even have to walk up. But the beautiful countryside and quaint towns made it all worthwhile. We stopped frequently, allowing Florian to tell us details about winemaking.
The vine is taller and with bigger space between the rows. This is not the vineyard you will see downstairs, on the bottom of the slope, where we have the famous classification. Here the grapes which have been picked here, by the way, they have been picked by machine, because you can see we have the leftover stem. This is because the technique, and we just cross a machine. You see in the big machine, it's a harvesting machine. So the machine picked the grapes just by shaking the vine and pump the grape, vacuum the grape. So it's why you still have the stem. So anyway, so the grape here gonna produce a wine called Bourgogne. Bourgogne, regional appellation, bottom level, Haute Côte de Beaune. Haute Côte de Beaune, that means high slope of Beaune. Do you know what is it?
Bus stop.
And bus stop. Oh, yes, it could be, but not. No, it's not a bus stop. Normally the water is quite clean, huh? It should be clean.
For the horses to have a drink when they were pulling the grapes uphill many years ago.
No,
No?
no. Alors, little tips. If you can find, it was only for women before.
Wash.
Washing.
Ah, you remember the good time of a long time ago. This is the laundry room, huh? Yes. We clean the clothes here. And you have this kind of building in every village. In Meursault you have some, you have in Beaune, you have everywhere. We keep it, we don't know what's gonna happen. So if one day we have no more electricity, we'll have the lavoir.
Here we stop at the Chateau de Rochepot, a 13th century castle up for sale. Asking price, €3.2 million. It sits on 69 acres and has 30 rooms, and even has its own moat and drawbridge. Unfortunately, it was closed today, so we didn't get to go in. Here's another laundry, but in the condition it's in, I think it's still being used. After a particular strenuous uphill climb, we stopped for a bit of refreshment.
Alors, before to drink, I'm going to explain a few things which are important to do when you drink a wine from everywhere, but from Burgundy, this is how we do. We like to do blind tasting with our friends. Blind tasting even without the view. But here we have the highest. So first things we do is looking at the color, because the color is a good indication. I'm sorry again because you can't really see the color, but imagine this is a glass which is clear, a normal glass of wine. It's a plastic. But we look at the color because the color is a good indication to know if it's a white or red wine. This is the first step.
Rosé.
Yeah? Or rosé, yes.
Rosé.
It could be rosé also. Yeah. After you have to know that if it's a white wine, if the yellow is dark, and if the white is yellow, that means it's old. If it's clear, that means it's young. And for the red wine, when the red wine starts ruby color and becoming like brown after 10-15 years. So this is a good way to understand, to see this wine probably a few years on the back. And after you have to smell. So you put your nose into the glass. First sensation, first idea. Smell good, does smell good. And after, when you taste the wine, you have to. After, what you can do also, very important, is turn the glass. You turn the glass like that. Well, it's better with a real glass again. And you smell again, or you can even put the hand on the top. If you want to look professional or just stupid. And smell again, it's gonna keep the aroma. It's way stronger. And after that, you taste the wine.
Sloshing at the top too, doesn't it?
Stop spilling.
Stop spilling.
Yeah, if you spill
Yes.
everywhere.
Our next stop is at the Chateau Chazé Montreux cellars for a bit of wine tasting. This winery dates back to the 11th century, and it's currently under the stewardship of Maison Michel Picard, who boasts that some of the vines on this site date back to the 9th century. It's said that the soil in this region makes all the difference, and this is supposed to be some of the best. Even though the wines didn't suit our taste, this Antargia panel was just spectacular. The roads in the area seem to be primarily used by the vineyards, but they're also marked as bike paths, and they make for a nice leisurely ride. We're in the small town of Pouligny-Martechet, and we soon stopped for lunch, where we had a charcuterie plate, a salad, and a blackcurrant sauce panna cotta. The land in this area is rarely sold, and is just passed down through generations, making land costs soar well above $2 million an acre. But the land varies greatly depending on the provenance of the soil. The land on one side of this road may be up to 5 times the value as the parcel right next to it. Our last stop was at a very small winery called Earl Domaine Dominique Lave. It is owned by a woman and her son, and they only have 3 other employees. While we took a very short tour of the small winery and did some wine tasting, our guide Florian rode back up the hill to collect the van. These wines, and the others that we've tried in this area, tend to be very dry and acidic, not the type we tend to really enjoy. But it could be just that we're not spending enough money on them. With the end of our bike tour, we say goodbye to the 4 days spent in the Burgundy region of France, and get ready to move on east to visit the small towns in the foothills of the Alps.